All right, we're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? Thanks so much for tuning into my show tonight. We've got a lot of big topics that we're going to be talking about today, and I'm very excited to share with you some breaking news as well with this show, as well as a little bit of inspiration and some philosophy. We'll talk about all the big, hard-hitting news stories that have been coming out as we count our way down towards Election Day. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are watching us here on YouTube right now, I'm really grateful for you guys. You should be a subscriber if you're not already, but if you're not, don't forget to subscribe to the channel before you leave. Also, if you're not a subscriber to my Facebook page, you can find me over at facebook.com/producer Peterson. Peterson spelled all E's, no O's. Thanks a lot for tuning in the show today. Big topic, lots of things we've got to cover. The number one issue that I want to talk about today, why are Democrats scared of libertarians? That's a good question. We'll get into that more in just a minute. First, a bit of breaking news. Just found out today Glenn Beck has come out in support of Constitution Party candidate Darrell Castle. And that is really big news because, as we all know, Darrell Castle is the Constitution Party candidate. And Darrell Castle gets his kudos for winning Glenn Beck's endorsement. Of course, we all would have hoped that that would have gone to Governor Gary Johnson. But sadly, it appears that Glenn has decided to go with the candidate that he believes most represents him, and that is your vote, your conscience. It's not an implicit endorsement. Just so you know, Justin Moldo from Liberty Hangout told me earlier today that he doesn't explicitly endorse, he just says who he supports and who he votes for. So congratulations to Darrell Castle of the Constitution Party. So that's the big news. Let's move on to the top of the stories. Why are the Democrats so scared of Rand Paul? And I'll direct you guys to a really quick little clip that I want to share with you that you guys can watch on your little screens. Let me pop you up there. I want you to watch this little video clip on YouTube with me.
That's rigging disasters to advance their agenda.
Right. But wait a minute. The whole Gary Johnson thing. You know, this guy, I'm just telling y'all, y'all say dope doesn't hurt anybody. He smoked a lot of dope, and he doesn't know a lot. You sure that dope use don't have some downside to it?
Now, James,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, smoked a lot of dope, and he doesn't know a lot. Well, that's James Carville. If you don't know who James Carville is, then I would encourage you to look him up. He's a Democratic strategist. But James Carville says that he smokes a lot of dope and that he doesn't know a lot. That's referring to the gaffe that Gary Johnson made out of Aleppo. But first, before we talk about Gary Johnson, let's talk about Rand Paul. Rand Paul is really the big story because the breaking news from this is that there were leaked emails that show that Democrats were afraid of Rand Paul more than almost any other candidate. Now, think about this. If you could go back in time a year ago to the primary season in the Republican Party, and you could have chosen any candidate, you know, Libertarians would have chosen Rand Paul. Libertarians supported Rand Paul. I supported Rand Paul. And I thought that he would be a good candidate for the reasons that the Democrats list themselves. This just shows the idiocy of the Republican Party in the decision that they made here. Follow along with me, if you like, at the libertarianrepublic.com. where Elias Atienza writes, a new memo in the recent batch of leaked emails released by WikiLeaks show that the Democrats, or at least the Clinton campaign, feared Rand Paul. The memo was part of the Podesta emails, which were thousands of emails from the Clinton's chairman, John Podesta, to various Democratic and Clinton operatives. The memo divided the field into two groups. One was the Pied Pipers, which were the candidates which would only appeal to a certain set of voters. The Clinton strategy was to push more established candidates to the right, in order to make them the leaders. These candidates included Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and Ben Carson. Their second goal was to undermine the candidates who would try and focus on, quote, building a winning general election coalition. These candidates included Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, Chris Christie, and Marco Rubio. But perhaps the candidate that scared the Clinton campaign most of all was none other than Rand friggin' Paul. Rand Paul was the candidate that he was, no, and Rand was not the first to drop in. Just so you know, I am monitoring the live chat, and I saw someone say that Rand Paul dropped out first. No, Rick Perry was the first to drop out. Rand Paul didn't drop out until after the Iowa caucuses. But here's the thing about Rand. Here's why they were scared of Rand. What to undermine? The idea that he is a, quote, different kind of Republican. His stance on the military and his appeal to millennials and communities of color, the memo stated. Paul ended up placing fifth in the Iowa caucuses and dropping out just a few days after, but the memo showed Democrats feared Paul if he was to be the GOP nominee. Listen to this. Last year, before the start of summer, Rand Paul dominated amongst independent voters against Hillary Clinton and was leading the GOP along with Scott Walker. Unfortunately for him, Trump entered his race and his candidacy all but evaporated. Listen to this. Polls conducted amongst Kentuckians show Paul has a wide swath of appeal with nearly a third of Democrats saying they support the incumbent senator for re-election. Wow. So, even the Democrats in a state like him. Democrats in Kentucky aren't like Democrats in New York, of course, just like they're not like Democrats here in Missouri. And speaking of Missouri, the perfect analogy to bring up in this, the perfect story to bring up with this, is my own Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri, Democrat, who won against Tea Party candidate Todd Akin. And what happened? She wrote a book afterwards saying that she specifically wanted him to win. She said she helped guide him to win because she knew that he would be a weak candidate in the general election. Hillary Clinton is loving every second of Donald Trump's scandals right now, all of the fact that the GOP is in chaos. Paul Ryan has reportedly stated today that he's looking, or the reports are that Paul Ryan is stating he wants to pull out of his endorsement for Donald Trump. How is Ted Cruz feeling right now? I mean, what is going on over there in the RNC? I heard that they shut the place down today and it's gone dark. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, when things go dark, the light of liberty, the torch of liberty needs to be picked up and carried by the next generation. The man who's doing that right now, in my opinion, for the next 30 days is Governor Gary Johnson. Now, let's talk about Governor Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson from Politico.com. Gary Johnson polls show he cuts into Clinton's lead. Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean he cuts into Clinton's lead? What are you talking about here? This is from Politico. Gary Johnson was never supposed to be a problem for Hillary Clinton. The low-profile Libertarians' presence on the ballot would serve as an easy out for #NeverTrumpRepublicans. Republicans. Democrats aligned with the nominee have long figured, and that could only hurt Donald Trump. But as national and battleground polls tighten and as Democrats' hand-wringing grows more urgent, operatives both within and allied with Clinton's political operation who are looking around to explain Trump's polling strength. This is before his gaffe, Donald Trump's gaffe, the polls. They didn't know that Gary would pose a headache to them in Nevada, Colorado, and Arizona. Now, this is crazy because the thing is that who are the people that are supporting him? Well, it's millennials. It's young people. The people who are watching this show right now, the live streamers, the dank memers. These are the people who are watching the show. These are the people who care about the future. We're the ones who are going to have to carry the torch. And we're the ones who are tasked with fixing the mess that these Democrats and Republicans have left for us. And so Gary Johnson is from a swing state. He's from New Mexico. He is from, a historically blue state, a liberal-leaning state. And Gary Johnson, being a libertarian who wants to legalize marijuana and who talks about ending the NSA through abolishing it by executive order, that gets young people very intensely excited in his campaign. And a lot of those young Democrats who Hillary Clinton was hoping would support her campaign are now looking at Gary Johnson. They're not looking at Donald Trump because Donald Trump is obviously a boorish oaf who I in no way believe will win the presidency. But if he does, it could potentially be because of Gary Johnson, which is unbelievable because historically people had always thought that libertarians pull more from Democrats, but usually we pull from both sides, and here is why we pull from both sides. Cato at Liberty reports libertarians are more racially diverse than some may realize. Okay, don't freak out, all you anti-cuck, neo-Nazi alt-righters. There are actually libertarians of color. Listen to this. Libertarian Gary Johnson gains media as polls show him garnering about 10% of the vote nationwide. I think he's at 9% now. The popular stereotype of libertarians is that we are disproportionately white and male. But is this accurate? What does the data actually say? As it turns out, the libertarian label is embraced by a more racially and ethnically diverse group of individuals than some may realize. But it does tilt male. You stupid white males. Anyways, here is the Cato Institute study. Bop, dropped it right there in the live stream. I'll drop it again in later on Facebook. Really appreciate you guys listening to the show. Lots of people on. Wow, great. Lots of people for our YouTube stream. These are really picking up. Very excited, very excited. Anyway, so Gary Johnson cuts into Clinton's lead in key states. And the old ideas of the right wing and libertarians having an alliance, well, it's not working out this year. You've got Glenn Beck breaking off to Darrell Castle. You've got libertarians going for the Libertarian Party. You've got anarchists going for Darrell Perry in a write-in campaign. Everybody's breaking in so many different pieces. Hillary Clinton, I'll call it right now. I believe Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the United States. Ouch. It hurts me to say that, and it's not that I like her. I mean, the thing is that we were given a candidate with Hillary where she had already been vetted. She was a senator. She was Secretary of State. We know that there are skeletons in her closet. They've decomposed because their bodies are in there. But no, the skeletons in Trump's closet are now being out on full display. Let me tell you, this ain't over yet. There's a whole lot of talk more about what's to come with Donald Trump and some revelations. You got to understand, if he comes out and says the N-word on tape, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're over. You got to be able to get some minority votes. You got to be able to get some Latinos and Hispanics, as Donald Trump would say. You've got to be able to get women to vote for you. More women vote than men vote. More women vote than men vote. You do realize this, Donald. You are just blowing this epically. But libertarians are more racially diverse. Listen to this. Yes, it looks like libertarians self-identified white, black, Latino, and other, 71% white, 14% Latino, 5% black, other, 8%. Now this is self-identified libertarians. So that's a big deal, because if you think about it, you wouldn't think necessarily that 14% of African Americans would self-identify. This was coming from Emily Eakins at Reason.org. She writes across, she used nine Reason Group surveys that she conducted at Reason Foundation with the Princeton Survey Research Associates over 2 years, and the study that they found, 71% Caucasian, yeah, we read these numbers. It's not an exact reflections, but these numbers are actually similar to the demographic makeup of all respondents, averaged across the surveys. That's a big deal. 67% white, 13% Latino, 12% African American, 7% identifying as other, and 1% not identifying. I'll go ahead and pull that up on the screen so that you guys can see it really briefly. I don't want to spend too much time on the numbers, but I want you guys to know that this is legit data here coming from the Cato Institute. So make sure that you guys check that out. I've dropped that link in there, but I want you guys to understand that, the millennial libertarians, look at this. Diversity increases further among millennial libertarians, reflecting the racial composition of the entire generation. In a study millennials she conducted, we found the millennial libertarians reflect the racial ethnic diversity of the national sample. That's amazing. Among millennials who self-identify as libertarian, 56% are white, 21% are Latino, 14% African American, 8% are Asian, and 1% identify as another race. Well, that's why they're scared of us, ladies and gentlemen, because we are the future, and we are the power, and we are racially diverse, and we do have women involved. We do have a lot of great women. Shout out to Liberty Laura. But why are we diverse? Well, I think we're diverse because you have to search to find libertarian ideas anywhere. My former boss at the Alice Economic Research Foundation used to sneak copies of Friedrich Hayek across the Berlin Wall, and then he would sneak people across back at the risk of his own life. These ideas are well hidden under the mainstream media circus, in academia, which despises our ideas, and government officials actively work to suppress them. That's a task generally, not to find them, not always, but it requires a highly individualistic and purposeful mind to arrive at libertarianism. That sense of drive towards liberty is endemic to all cultures. That's why people who scaremonger about immigrants coming and voting for socialism are wrong. There are libertarian hints in every culture, including Muslims. The key is to find the classical liberals in the community and encourage them to be the ones who are the responsible ones. Take a look at what happened in South Africa. The new mayor of Johannesburg is a man by the name of Herman Mashaba. If they had asked me who my favorite foreign leader would have been, I would have stumped Chris Matthews and said, you know who really throws a thrill up my leg, Chris Matthews? Herman Mashaba, the new mayor of Johannesburg. And he would have had no idea who that was. And I would have just preened and strutted as Chris Matthews was like, oh, maybe I'm the idiot. Whoa, bake the damn cake, Aleppo. Oh. In an alternate universe, man. This is the world we live in, unfortunately. I was actually in St. Louis yesterday with my friend Kristen, giving a little speech for Gary. And I don't know if you believe in the many worlds paradox, but if you do, then on some alternate universe, last night I was on that debate stage with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and they're talking about their porno stuff, and I'm all just like, can we please just talk about the Constitution? And yes, we will talk about the Constitution here in just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. I got a few more topics I want to get through before we do this. I just got to hydrate because it's live, and I ain't got nobody to help me out. This is a one-man band, don't you know? Dun, 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 dun. I need like a harmonica, a kazoo, and a drum. I've got like so many things going on right now, lights, camera, audio, and stuff like that. Anyways, so let's move on. I want to talk about, Gary Johnson. Why are they attacking him, these Democrats? They're attacking him because he's a threat. They attack him over Aleppo, but think about this. I like the way that Gary Johnson bombed Aleppo a lot more than the way Hillary Clinton bombed Aleppo. Know what I'm saying? So think about it. You got to look at these candidates in relative terms. You've got Gary Johnson, who's got a great track record governing in New Mexico, and you've got Bill Weld, his VP. You've got Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine, and then you've got Donald Trump and Mike Pence, who Mike Pence may be probably the best guy out of all of them. Don't you feel bad for Mike Pence? Can't we just flip the tickets and just have Kaine be the top and Pence be at the top? Oh gosh, what a mess we're in, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of the mess that we're in, we'll get into this in a moment. I want to have said their cause for optimism, but let's talk about this. Social justice warriors, cucks, feminism, Donald Trump. Okay. The other day I had a little back and forth with my good friend Lauren Southern, who I really admire and respect for her work. I think she does a great job. But I think that there's a problem with the alt-right and some of the people who call themselves libertarians who are supporting Donald Trump. And I've been saying this, beating this drum for a long time. Because you may agree with a lot of the things that Donald Trump stands for. You may not agree with everything that he stands for. I don't think anybody agrees with one candidate 100%. But here's the thing. If you want a movement, alt-right, if you want a revolution, you have to police your own. What do I mean when I say that? Well, a long time ago, libertarians got in trouble because we had some racist newsletters come out and we all got smeared with the same broad brush of being racist and blah, blah, blah. And that's just a strategy thing. They're going to call you racist no matter what, right? But here's the thing. There really were racists that were writing these newsletters. There really were people that believe these nasty, awful things. There really were people who are anti-Semites. And just like there are with the alt-right movement, I see it all the time, the Nazification of that movement, the glorification of fascist symbology, which is absolutely antithetical to liberty. And I said something the other day, I said something very polite. I said that I hope that when this is over, Lauren, that you will reconsider, you will reassess your support of Donald Trump. That was very mild, very bland criticism, I would say, just simply that I could not understand or support from him. You should see the hateful, evil, anti-Semitic responses that have come in from every angle, Twitter, on Facebook. This is a cancer. This movement is a cancer, and I will rout you out, and by God, I will rout you out, ladies and gentlemen, because there is no future for anti-Semitism in the United States. There is no future for fascism in the United States. They say that these Nazis are, they're all such tough guys, such great big warriors, and yet you got your ass handed to you in a high hat in 10 years. The communists were a lot harder to kill, and it took us a lot longer to get rid of the communists. The Nazis fell after just 10 years. And you were defeated by liberals, Western democracies, like the United States. We are a secular democracy after all, and one that I'm very proud of, because as an American and as a classical liberal, there's nothing more I like than killing Nazis. Doesn't it make you feel good? Nazis. I hate these guys. Anyways, so here's the thing. When it comes to policing your own movement, I've done it. I've policed my own. And I've done it at great detriment to myself. Because you know what? It's a lot easier to tell people what they want to hear. And you get a whole lot more clicks and traffic on social media if you don't piss off Prison Planet and all the other info weirdos that are campaigning for Donald Trump. But let me just tell you something. There will be no revolution if your movement is one that has a cancer, and the alt-right has a cancer. It is a tumor. You must cut it out. And I have done that for my movement. I have fallen on that sword. I have worn the chains that have come from my criticism toward the people who have these views towards women, and who have these views towards gays, and who have these views towards Jews, which I find absolutely abhorrent. And here's the thing. You can't label me. If you're new to me, I'm not a social justice warrior. As a matter of fact, I have a big problem with postmodern feminism. I have a big problem with all the social justice warriors. And you know what? I'm not a big fan of white knights. But let's talk about white knights for a second, ladies and gentlemen, because let me just tell you something. Donald Trump went on the attack for the people who were going to leave him today. And you know what they were saying? Those people Donald Trump's campaign responded and said that the people in Congress who were upset, saying they were upset over Donald Trump's comments that he made about sexually assaulting a woman, he said that those people are guilty of sexual assault, and that basically the only reason that they're doing that is because they are guilty of it and they know it, and they don't want any light shining on them. Well, I absolutely believe them. I believe the Trump campaign when they say that. I believe that there probably are people in Congress who have sexually assaulted potentially people on their staff, and I believe they have talked like Donald Trump and behaved like Donald Trump. That doesn't mean I condone it. And I got a really nasty email from a lady that I want to read to you guys, because my critics deserved a voice as well at this table, and I want to make sure that everybody gets represented at this debate. Somebody came out and criticized me. She said, Austin, Robin writes in on Facebook, I love you, Austin, really. You were on my favorite bachelor list until I found out you were married. I'm not married. But I have to say this. It's oh so heartwarming to see and hear all the men coming to the defense of women in light of Trump's comments. Sarcasm. Wonder how many of you listen to rap, country, pop music, or watch the commercials on any given Sunday during football or any other sports season. How many watch porn with or without your wife, girlfriend flavor of the month? Ouch. Men have been victimizing women for millennia, and I don't need you to defend me against your kind. I've had a lot of practice protecting myself from misogynists since I was 10 from the assholes on my school bus. Some of them went on to be on to CEOs and local politicians. Gasp. I know it makes you feel big and strong, but please stop. Thank you. Well, you're wrong, Robin. Actually, people do need help. Everyone needs help. People who are in dangerous positions need help. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people approach me for help. Male and female, gay, straight, black, trans. It doesn't matter. I've had all sorts of people ask me for help. And when they ask me for help, I will be there because you haven't seen me in the same room as Batman, have you? Anyways. So, moving on. The truth is, yes, sometimes you do have to stick up for the ladies. That doesn't mean that you're a white knight. It means that you're a good man. And there is a room for chivalry. As a man who gave another man a gun as a token, as a gesture of my respect at being vanquished, I have a keen eye for history, and I do believe in a sense of respect and gentility amongst people. And so while I may not be an angel, and while I may have said some bad words in my life before, as a matter of fact, I said the exact same word Donald Trump has. I certainly didn't do it in the context of alluding that I would commit sexual assault. There are lines that you have to draw. Some lines are hazy. Some lines are in the sand. But I think that this is one of those lines that you definitely have to draw a line in the sand. And I think that you should definitely draw a line in the sand when it comes to things like anti-Semitism, racism, and sexism. Because there is no future for any movement, libertarianism, alt-right, whatever, People's Front of Judea. There will be no forward progress for any movement that is born on the backs of hatred and ethno-nationalism. It just ain't going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Focus on the free markets. Focus on individual liberty. Racism is collectivism. Collectivism is not libertarian. So that's all I got to say about that. In closing, I want to talk to you guys about why I think we need the Constitution. And this is that kind of just armchair philosopher kind of stuff that we need to have a discussion about. And I want to say that the reason why I believe that we need a Constitution, is this. In the debates to create the Constitution, there were the Federalists and the Anti-Federalist factions which were forming. And there is a group of people in the world, most of the people are the ones who get into government in the first place, mostly lawyers. These are people who believe in a theory that Judge Andrew Napolitano taught me about, and it's called legal positivism, like the word positive. Look it up. Legal positivism is a legal theory which specifically states that there is no law if the law is not written down. And this is a contrast with people who believe in, like myself, someone who believes in natural, innate rights, individual rights. Because in essence, in my mind, it's impossible, this is why the Ninth Amendment exists, it's impossible for you to write down all the possible rights that an individual should be able to enjoy, which is why I think that their rights are more numerous than the stars. But states don't have rights, remember, states have powers. But why do I think we need a Constitution? I think we need a Constitution specifically because, for the same reason that the Anti-Federalists didn't want a Constitution, but why they wrote the Bill of Rights. The Anti-Federalists realized when the Constitutional Convention occurred that there was going to be a Constitution. They would have a new government. The Articles of Confederation were defunct, falling apart, and they would need a new national government. That would be governed under the new Constitution that the Federalists had been pushing for, people like James Jay and Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. But the reason why the Anti-Federalists put in a Bill of Rights is because they knew that the Federalists were positivists. This means that they knew that the Federalists believed that the only laws that existed were laws that were written down. And the Anti-Federalists were terrified that if they did not write down a list of rights, then the positivists would sweep in and they would take them far away because they knew that the positivists would only acknowledge a law if it was written down. The Anti-Federalists didn't believe that. However, they knew that governments inevitably, which had already been created through the Articles of Confederation, governments inevitably will grow, and that they were going to place a restraint on the powers of government and give us a Bill of Rights. So what does that mean? It's a strange quandary. It means that the anti-federalists knew that they did have to write some laws down in order for rights to be protected. And that is why we need a constitution. Because there will always be federalists to our anti-federalists. There will always be legal positivists to our natural rights stance. It is a balance of nature, and one that we must acknowledge and respond to. If we're going to push forward the message of liberty, we must all assuredly hang together, or we shall most assuredly hang separately. In one final thing, I do want to say to all my Freedom Ninjas who've been watching, thank you very much for watching the show. And if you're not like in the insidery gossip stuff, you guys can go ahead and turn it off. And especially because I'm going to give you an advertisement at the very end of this. You better go. I'm just kidding. I hope you stay. But there's been a lot of negativity in the liberty movement, specifically in my circles. People have been causing a lot of rancor, a lot of division because of the difference of the candidates that they have. They have problems with Gary. They don't like McCaskill. They don't blah, 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 blah. All I want to say is, please be excellent to one another. Why? Because we're going to need each other. Because this is not the final election that most of us are going to participate in. We've got the rest of our lives. And we are going to need these friendships and relationships. The revolution, if the revolution is to continue, ladies and gentlemen, we absolutely must form a cohesive movement and one that encapsulate all of the diversity of thoughts and opinions and races and genders and creeds. You know, it doesn't matter what you think, believe, who you have sex with, what you identify as. I want everybody to be a libertarian. And so what I'd like to say to you all right now is that if you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling down, walk away from the computer. You can even turn the live stream off right now if you'd like. Otherwise, if you want to make a positive change, put yourself into something positive. Focus on positive energy. I'm not really into energy or karma specifically, but I think what you put out there, you do get back, and that's just a general maxim. So I'd like to ask all my Freedom Ninjas to please try and love one another, be excellent to one another, treat one another with respect and kindness, because we may have fierce debates, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same side. I believe that. Thanks very much for tuning in to my live stream tonight. I hope you all enjoyed this really nice discussion. But listen, here you go. You're going to have to get an advertisement now because that's how I make my money. Anyways, do you like how the LibertarianRepublic.com looks? Look at that gorgeous site. No ads. That is beautiful. You know, you can get this beautiful website just like that to help us support libertarian journalism. $5 a month right there. You click on purchase membership. You can cancel at any time. We get people cancel, and that's perfectly fine. You know, you can pay $5 a month or $55 for a year. Again, you can log in right there. Boom, you get all the site ad free, and then you don't get the listicles don't come on a carousel. The listicles come on one page. And have you checked out LibertyViral.com? We're really rocking and rolling with Liberty Viral these days. I'll show it to you later. Anyways, I want you guys to do me a favor and subscribe to the LibertarianRepublic.com. Terrific news on the front with Stonegate. We just got funded to the tune of 10K, 10 big ones first. Not Stone actually, it's our new super PAC. Loki PAC. It's all on the FEC record. Really cool. We're going to get to do a commercial for Gary Johnson right before the election to show how he can actually win in the Electoral College if he does well enough in certain states. So check out for more about that exciting news coming out of the Stonegate Institute, Stonegate PAC, and Loki PAC. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. And you